So you're arguing basically that it's a good thing for the U.S. that China is growing reluctant to buy NVIDIA AI chips right now. But what about the argument coming from the other side, that this is really about getting China addicted to American-made AI chips so that it would slow things down when it comes to China's own chip progress?
Yeah, it's a really interesting argument. I mean, obviously, there's some advantages in China being dependent on American technology, but here's the reality. I think hopes that China was going to be dependent on American chips are they're a bit naive. I don't think China is very interested in dependency, and President Xi, even before export controls were really even an issue, even before there was a U.S.-China trade war in the first Trump term, he warned in many speeches that dependence on foreign technology is really unacceptable. He has poured hundreds of billions of dollars into chip indigenization. And actually, right now, there's a program in China called Delete A or Delete America, which is about removing the American software stack from China in a lot of different places. I'm sure that's going to extend to the CUDA software that, NVIDIA fortunately enjoys. And so, even American companies have been able to reduce their reliance on that software. Eventually, China will as well. Chip sales to China are not going to get them hooked on us. But what they will do is actually help the PLA, help PRC cyber actors be a bit more effective. And most importantly, in the economic and tech competition, they'll probably make PRC models a bit more competitive. For example, the H20 semiconductor, if that's sold to China, that'll make it so that Chinese models are running even better than they are today. The inference will be better. So the real question is, if you're not going to create dependency, but you are going to advance China's military, cyber, and sort of technological and economic programs, is it really worth it to make this trade? I think the answer is no, especially because the revenue bump may not be as significant as some are suggesting.
Rush, what do you think China is doing behind the scenes to reduce its dependence on U.S. chips, U.S. tech? Do you think it's innovating faster? Are you seeing signs that they're becoming more self-sufficient?
It's a great question. I think you should never underestimate China's ability to innovate. I think China is an extremely innovative country, and I think a lot of folks have basically missed the story of growing Chinese innovation. They think that China is a fast follower. All that being said, innovation in a lot of fields is quite different from innovation in this field. Semiconductors are some of the most advanced technology mankind has ever created. The manufacturing equipment for these chips is extremely complicated. It requires a very, very sort of insanely complicated supply chain. And quite frankly, I mean, some of the estimates from companies around the world in this space, companies like McKinsey, I think, have come out and said that China might be decades behind in lithography. They're not ready to sort of make these chips at scale on their own. Even the technology they're using to make the chips, the technology is sold by the West to China. So while I don't think you should ever count China out as an innovative country, I think it's extremely innovative. This is one unique technology that is very hard to catch up in quickly. And right now, the way that time is working out, we're probably going to see in the next year or two major advances in artificial intelligence that could have enormous implications for the economy. So this is the time for the compute advantage that the U.S. and others have to be applied to sort of taking the lead in AI technology. And that's exactly why this issue, I think, is so important, so timely. It's also billions of dollars at stake for companies around the world.
They might not be a leader in lithography now, but if you look at the EV space, China has clearly exceeded and overtaken the EV sector. When you look at how Beijing operates, how China operates, willing to run industries at a loss simply to dominate market share, and not to mention the scale of the whole China market, that's a huge leverage that China can use against the U.S., isn't it?
Completely. And I'd make 2 points. First of all, you're right. China is innovating not just in electric vehicles, in biotechnology, in quantum communications. In field after field, you see China make breakthroughs. All I'm saying is lithography is very different from electric vehicles. It's a much more complicated technology. These semiconductors are very hard to make. There is a moat here that is actually perhaps more formidable than in other sectors like, quite frankly, electric vehicles, which have certain complementarities with China's consumer electronics ecosystem, like battery technology, et cetera. The second point that I'd make, though, is just your point about scale. Recently, I wrote an article in Foreign Affairs with former Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell, which explores this idea of scale. China's scale is really enormous. I mean, twice the U.S. manufacturing share, twice American power generation, 3 times American car production, and dominating the world in the production of batteries, critical minerals, certain pharmaceutical products. It's really incredible. So that is a formidable advantage. The one area right now that the U.S. has a clear indisputable lead in is in fact in AI compute. It's actually in this area we're talking about. And so it's interesting. Is this the one area where the US should let up, or is this the one place to invest further on those strengths and build a really formidable app layer for American companies of, that want to basically have their AI applications embedded in others' tech stack? We want the world to run on sort of American artificial intelligence. The reality is that that's going to come down to basically who has better compute. And right now, the US has that advantage.